it brings forth extreme fruit. So think about Our Lady. I mean, she is the Theotokos. She's the most fruitful woman who ever lived, right? Well, I think it was St. Bernardine of Siena. I think it was. He says that out of a virginal marriage came a virginal son, right? I mean, this is profound stuff, man.
Well, you have a list of quotes from Jerome and Augustine and many others about how it's virginal fatherhood.
Yep.
Or as St. John Paul would say, it's fatherhood according to the Spirit.
Yeah.
Which is not less paternal, but more. I mean,
That's right.
we share fatherhood according to the flesh with dogs and cats and horses and cows that are all male, but they don't produce persons, much less a divine person.
Virginal fecundity, right?
Yes.
It's that fruitfulness. And that's real stuff. That's not something we're making up.
Yeah, this is not just pious fiction, not religious rhetoric. It's not just like Catholic talking points if we want to be maximalist in Josephology.
Right.
These are the ABCs, the multiplication table, And I'm thinking this is going to have a huge effect even beyond the consecration of individuals and families like we did. You go back, and in the first 400 or 500 years, you don't ever find treatises on Mariology. You find reference to her as the new Eve, the Ark of the New Covenant, the Queen Mother, daughter Zion. But it isn't until 1,000 years later that all of this is crystallized into the doctrine, into the devotion, but into the coherent, systematic treatment so that you realize all the Mother of God entails. Oh my goodness, And now we come to mediatrix of all grace, co-redemptrix and advocate. And all of that does is unpack the fact that when she is crowned and enthroned, she's not just sitting there looking good. She is mothering now in a way that surpasses anything she could do before she was assumed.
That's it. And that's why back up 3 years ago when I was putting this together, I was asking myself, who are you, St. Joseph, right?
Just like Colby would say.
That's it. So remember, before we start taping, I said, I remembered St. Maximilian Kolbe. The dogma of the Immaculate Conception defined 1854, right? So after his time, but he's still asking the question, who are you, right? Who are you? Wanting to unpack it, wanting to apply it, wanting to get people consecrated to her, wanting to, use different means of miraculous medal and all these associations of prayer. And then I found myself asking the same thing about St. Joseph. Who are you? We've talked about you, we prayed to you, but how do we apply this in our particular situation? And that's when the Holy Spirit really did impress upon me. And I found phenomenal quotes, like from Blessed Bartolo Longo, right? Stuff that I actually had translated for the first time in English from Italian, never been in English before. He actually calls, and now this is our times, right? He only lived not even 100 years ago. He called St. Joseph the vicar of the Holy Spirit.
Wow.
What does that even mean? I mean, but if you think about it, well, wait a minute. That makes a lot of sense. So let's unpack it. And that's what I mean by people need to unpack this now, because we're getting new titles coming at us. Even Pope Francis in that new document has a title where he calls St. Joseph, or he alludes to it anyway, that St. Joseph is the father of the church.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that's what patron of the universal church really means.
Exactly.
Patron comes from pater.
Exactly.
It's like just one more baby step.
Right. And what does that mean, right? How do we unpack that and apply that in your average diocese, parish, in marriage preparation? What does that role mean, right? So we know that Christ takes over the care of the church and sacrifices himself for her, but Christ's Father also did. He was the first. He's the one who taught Jesus in that human level, of course, those manly characteristics of what it means to sacrifice for beauty, of what it means to give yourself for the other. That's like father, like son.
Oh, yeah.